All right, so today we're going to be looking at questions 80 to 83. We're going to be doing what we call compositions of transformations. Now, what this means is that I'm going to do more than one transformation on each figure. Notice on question number 80, I'm going to do a rotation first, and then I'm going to do a dilation. All right, question 81, I do a translation, and then I'm going to do a reflection. So I'm going to do more than one transformation on each. All right, so let's take a look. One thing we're going to be using, I'm going to be using the formulas that I gave you guys on question number 51. Let me remind you guys of such formulas. So you guys see number 51. I gave you guys those formulas. So when I said on our notes, according to the formula on our notes, I'm talking about question 51. Okay. So again, when I said according to the formula on our notes, you guys can refer to 51. I highly, highly recommend use it. Okay. So let's come back to our work. I was gonna work question. Let me see. Let me come back to it. I want to work question number 80. So I'm gonna ask you guys for just 1 point. Here, I'm gonna do all three. So for example, I was doing point L. So initially, let me get the first point. So the point L, the coordinates as they are. Coordinates of L right now are 2, 1. If I was looking at point M, the coordinates right now are 3, -4. And if I was looking at point K, my coordinates are 1, -4. So whichever point I'm looking at, I'm going to do the original points. Now, let me move to the first transformation. So I see rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. On our notes, that shows us 90 CCW. Right, there's a difference between clockwise and counterclockwise. So according to our notes, 90 degrees counterclockwise, it says XY. So I'm just looking at our notes. XY becomes -YX. So I have to flip my numbers, and the number that was Y to begin with, I got to switch the sign. So L prime, like I said, after the first transformation, L prime is -1, 2. If I was looking at M prime, my answer will be 4, 3. Notice I did switch the sign on the 4. Right? The instructions are not always make it negative. The instructions are change the sign. If I was looking at K, K prime will be 4, 1. All right, that's the first transformation. Now looking at the second transformation, it says dilation of 1.5 about the origin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply each of my numbers by 1.5. So in this case, I'm going to call this L double prime, because that means after the second transformation. If I was looking at point L, let me multiply each number by 1.5. The coordinates of L prime, L double prime will be -1.5 and 3. If I was looking at M double prime, my answer will be, let me multiply each by 1.5. So I will get 6 and 4.5. If I was looking at K double prime, my answer will be 6, 1.5. Notice each of my coordinates, I multiply by 1.5. All right, so notice for each of them, I did the rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise, and then I did dilation. Let's take a look at question number 81. Let me get the coordinates that we have to begin with. So if I was looking at G, the coordinates of G are -2, 4. I'm only going to do two points, but you can basically do any of them, right? If I was looking at H, The coordinates of H are 3, 2. I could do I could do F. So first of all, let me move 1 unit right. I can easily see it on the picture, right? I can move 1 unit right. Well, I remembered the notation is X plus 1, because that means 1 unit right, and leave the Y by itself. So if I was going to do G prime, I'm going to have -1, 4. If you notice, all I did was I added 1 to the X value. That's pretty much it. And I left the Y by itself. If I was looking at H prime, my answer would be 4, 2. Right? When you move to the right, you basically add 1, left the Y by itself. Now the second operation here, the second transformation says reflection across the y-axis. Now, according to our notes, when you reflect across the y-axis, you just change the sign on the x. According to our notes, that says, let me write here what it says, x wide becomes -x wide. What that says is just change the sign on the x value. So if I was looking at G prime, my answer will be 1, 4. I changed the sign on the x, right? If it was positive, make it negative. If it was negative, make it positive. And if I was looking at H double prime, my answer would be -4, 2. All I did was change the sign on the x. Now, there's one thing. There's no such thing as a -0. So if it was a 0 to begin with, leave it as a 0. Right? There's no such thing as a -0. Right? I did point G in H. We could do I and F. If I asked you guys, graph this, right? If this was on paper, then I ask you guys, graph the image. Basically, you have to do all corners and then just connect the points. Now, let me take a look at question number 82. On 82, I just give you guys the coordinates. Let me choose point A, just to choose a point, but it could be any point. So let me do point A. I have the coordinates of A already. So the first transformation says dilation of 1.5. So if I was looking at A prime, that means the first transformation, let me multiply each number by 1.5. Let me multiply each by 1.5. So that's going to give me -3, -4.5. Sometimes a dilation will be given to you as a fraction, but for my homework, I'm dealing with everything as a decimal. So if your dilation is given to you as a fraction, change it to dilation to decimal. What do I mean with that is I could have given you this as 3/2. I could have given to you as a fraction, but change it to decimal. The way you do it is 3 divided by 2, right? That's 1.5. All right, so I did the first transformation. Now let me take a look at the second transformation. Let me change this to red so we don't get confused. It says rotation of 90 counterclockwise. According to my notes, x wide is going to become -yx. All right, so I got to switch the signs, x and y, got to switch the numbers, but I'm going to switch the sign on the y value. So my a double prime will be positive 4.5 and -3. Notice the 4.5, I switched the sign. Again, I just did one point. I randomly chose a point. I did point A, but I could have done point B, C, or D. For the first operation, for dilation, I multiplied by 1.5. And then I did rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. All right, let's take a look at number 83, my last question for today. Let me choose point J, just to choose one. So my first operation, my first transformation says reflection across the y-axis. Okay, I take a look at my notes and it says reflection across the y-axis, I get negative xy. All right, so what that means is I'm just going to switch the sign on the x. All right, so I said I was going to choose point J. I have the coordinates of J. So J prime will be 4, 0. I prime will be 3, 4, and then H prime will be positive 2, 5, and G prime will be negative 1, 3. So I'm just doing point J, but it could be any point. Now the second transformation, it says translation, 1 unit to the right and 2 units up. All right, one thing, it helps me if I write it in notation here. 1 unit to the right, that's basically x plus 1. Right, to the right is plus and to the left is minus. And then 2 units up, I'm gonna write that as y plus 2. All right, the reason why I wrote the formula is because it helps me. It says plus 1 on the x, plus 2 on the y. So my j double prime will be 5, 2. All right. For our homework, I'm not going to ask you guys to type in j double prime. I'm just going to ask you guys for the coordinates. So when it comes to homework, I will just expect 5, 2. Again, if I ask you guys to graph it, you guys will have to do all corners and then connected points. In this case, let me zoom out. This is what we did today. Composition transformations when you do more than one transformation.